One of the areas that we need to understand when we develop research is how is the current technology impacting humanity? We're interested to understand what's going to happen in 5, 10 years, so start to develop problems in order to give solutions and aspects for that. This is the Hacker's Corner. Hi everybody, welcome back. This is the Hacker's Corner. My name is Cristian Servín. I'm an associate professor in computer science here at El Paso Community College. We teach computer science, information technology, cybersecurity, and some other classes like intelligent computing at EPCC. Today we're running this series of interviews with a couple of our talents that we have locally speaking and regionally speaking and nationally speaking. So if you remember, we're running this binational effort between both countries, Mexico and United States, where we can actually develop not only research, but also find solutions for problems that we're facing here in the border. We create Hack the Border, which is a project that develops a series of adversarial series on computing. But in reality, we're using computing in order to solve problems for the border good. We're creating a series of adversarial thinking, adversarial series to solve problems here in the border. If you may remember or not, we create a Hack the Border. Hack the Border is a project that was sponsored by Microsoft in order to solve problems here in the border. It's called Hack the Border because our focus is to identify research problems and solutions, of course, to real-world problems in the border. One of the things that we need to recognize is the research that we develop that will impact the region between now and maybe 10 years. We recognize problems that they can be solved in both sides of the border. These workshops that we're creating, it's every Thursday from 4 to 5:30 at EPCC. What we do here is that we provide professional development where you can go and learn for specific tools, techniques, systems that are taking place in the region. Now remember that we're going to have this hackathon. The hackathon is in November 17 to the 19 at EPCC in Valle Verde campus. It's going to take place in the AST building. So hopefully you can join us to this big event that we're going to have in a couple of days or a couple of weeks. I don't know where you're watching this, but apparently it already happened. The idea is to get involved in this kind of solutions. This is the very first effort that happens in the region between both cities. We're working in collaborations with the University Autónoma de Ciudad Juárez and the Artificial Intelligence Center, both in Ciudad Juárez. And EPCC is collaborating in this side of the border. So I want to encourage everybody to join us in these efforts. Today, we're going to talk about very, very interesting perspective. We're going to talk about research, and something that we've been creating or developing through all these years, but now it's taking a lot of emphasis because most of the talent that we have currently in the region, in our classrooms, are generating tier 1 research in different aspects in computing. So everything started with an affinity research group that we host here at EPCC. We have a research lab. It's called the XAI Research Lab, which basically we study cybersecurity and artificial intelligence problems. And we try to investigate more issues concerning these topics. What is AI? What's the impact of cybersecurity in humanity, in society? And what are the implications of this research or these events that happens in real world scenarios? We use talent like our students that you will see today in order to bring these ideas to the four-year institutions. We work very closely with the four-year institutions like UTEP, the University of Texas in El Paso, NMSU, New Mexico State University, and recently we're working more with the University Autónoma de Ciudad Juárez. We're trying to create this hub of research. So in future events that we're going to have here in the show, we're going to bring one of those researchers in order to explain what's the impact of that. Having said that, we recently attended to the Great Minds in STEM in Pasadena, California, and one of the tiers tracks that was happening there was research. I'm very happy to announce that we got the first and second place in the research that we that we invest during the past months. That was thanks to collaborations with CASI. CASI is the Alliance of Hispanic Institutions, along with the affinity research group that we host here at EPCC. We developed a couple of research, and we got this opportunity to go to HINAC, the Great Minds in STEP in Pasadena, California. And we got first and second place based on the research. So let me I make a list here, because before I forget, this list I will forget, and then we took 10 students: Fernando Muñoz, Luis Estrada Aguirre, Diego Peña, Eduardo Menéndez, Alejandro Rodríguez, Jesús López, Kevin Mejía, Rodrigo Rentería, Paola Alvarado, Brian Rodiles, and of course, Nadia Karishev, who actually helped us to do the mentoring part. So I'm very happy to announce the researchers here who are with me. And I'm gonna, if you want to introduce your name, just tell me your name, where you study, and what you want to do.
My name is Diego Peña. I'm a computer science major at EPCC, and it's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you very much.
My name is Luis Estrada. I'm also a computer science major, and I want to focus in cybersecurity.
Okay.
Hello, my name is Fernando Muñoz. I am also a computer science student here at El Paso Community College, and I am working to focus in the aspect of machine learning.
Machine learning?
Artificial intelligence.
And artificial intelligence, that's
Yes.
right. So the three of you actually are working in two topics that intersect each other, by the way. And there's another student who wasn't able to make it here. Now he's at UTEP, by the way. Brian Rodiles, he's one of our students who developed research in-house here at EPCC, and now is extending that research with our colleagues at the university. So the work that you have developed for the past months, per se, it intersects not only cybersecurity and artificial intelligence, but other specific areas like machine learning that you mentioned, adversarial thinking, and social aspects, like social sciences aspect. So tell us a little bit about what are the areas that you're studying. For example, Diego, what are you studying?
So in our research, we basically analyze social media and users' reactions, focusing more on those of negative nature. And well, our plan was to be able to recollect information to feed it into a machine learning tool to be able to predict users' behavior and identify them.
That is a beautiful statement, because if you notice, nowadays everybody has social media somehow. Facebook, Twitter, I don't know, Instagram. I'm very not into social media, but those are the areas that basically happens. And you identify that people react onto that.
Yes.
Yes. So what are you interested to see?
We are interested in seeing how people like cyberbullies react to
Certain posts.
certain posts and analyze their characteristics
And the reactions.
and
So
the
you
reaction.
mentioned something that we is cyberbullying. Bullying is an issue. It's a strong concern that is being since many, many years, not in social media. Social media recognized that was an aspect on cyberbullying. And what we're trying to do in this research, and you mentioned very beautifully, that says we identify what are the reactions. Someone put a posting, a message, a video, someone that respect or actually expresses some emotions. And people like to put those, how do you call it when you like and things like that? I always forget.
reactions, right?
Reactions,
Yeah.
right? What kind of reactions you have?
The angry reaction.
Angry?
Haha.
Like laughing?
A laughing
Yeah,
reaction.
the mocking thing?
Yes. And well, love, like,
Yeah. The love. When you love something, you like something. I forgot the other
and
one.
a surprised one.
And surprise, thank you.
Yes.
There's a new one like hugs or cares. I don't know. It depends on what kind of social media you have those reactions. Now, every of those reactions has an impact. You react differently how people react to your postings. I know it sounds a little bit recurrently like, oh, you react to the reactions? Yeah, that's what people do. We want to study that issue because that brings other consequences. How about you, Luis? What are you interested to?
Well, right now I'm interested in cybersecurity, mainly in the networking aspect of it. Right now, we are all connected. The world is connected, but we really don't know the responsibility we have by connecting ourselves to the web, to the internet. And I also want to raise awareness of the different methods, like bad people can steal your information, or sometimes you give them that information.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
With social
With social,
engineering.
yeah.
So I really like that aspect, and trying to educate in a certain way my friends, family, everyone around me, like how they can improve their security, and that's why I'm interested in that aspect of it.
So you mentioned something about educating. I mean, create awareness. And this is what happened most of the times when you go to this party or when you go to your family reunions, right, and everything. It's like, oh, I just went to this coffee shop and then I connected. Like, why you connected that and why you send this transaction through online? So you're concerned more about the awareness and the informative aspect, which is something that we need. We have discussed this in previous episodes about how we actually bring this awareness not only in the academic perspective but also in the real life scenario. And you mentioned something that caught my attention. We're all connected. Now, nowadays it's not like a couple years ago when you just create your stuff, nobody cares about your business. Sometimes you're even responsible to filter things to everyone by using social engineering, by using social media, for example, and that is a big concern that we're having nowadays. I agree with you, definitely. Fernando, tell us.
So my research focused on the ethical dilemma of self-driving vehicles.
Ethical dilemma of self-driving vehicles. Tell us about
Yes. Okay, are you familiar with the trolley dilemma?
that. The trolley dilemma, I kind of know. Is this when you have a situation when you need to make a decision it's a multi-decision making. Tell us a little bit more.
Right, so the trolley dilemma is a very old philosophical problem in which you have a train or a trolley and you're in charge of moving the train tracks, and you will either hit one person or three people. And this is something that was always in our heads for a very long time. We always thought like, oh, let's see how people think. The problem is now machines are catching up to us and they're at this point.
That's a great introduction to the problem. That problem, it was in 1970s when it was introduced, completely obsolete because this is a very traumatic one. So you're controlling the train, the trolley. So there was one decision that you need to make, either passing through one person or three individuals. But you said, oh, one person is better one than three, but that brings a lot of consequences. And you mentioned something very nicely. Because of this whole perspective, how technology has been moved so fast, now machines, they make decisions even more effective. Is that what you're saying? How does that impact your research?
So machines have caught up to that point where they need to actually make those decisions, and we're speaking about self-driving vehicles. That's what the research really focused on. And we looked at various scenarios in which an autonomous vehicle was put in a very difficult situation in which it had to choose the worst case scenario. And we wanted to see this because right now, traditional self-driving vehicles are modeled after normal AI, which eventually comes into the black box problem. The black box is whenever the AI comes out with a result, but the programmers and developers that put all the work into it can't give you an explanation as to why it got to that point. And that is a very serious issue with artificial intelligence.
It is a concern because people say they have watched all these science fiction movies about how machines will take control of that thing. That's fictitious, that's science fiction. Well, yes and no, because now it's happening. And the most interesting thing that you brought here, there's some box, right? That black box, is that what you call it? That has information. These are the rules. So an artificial intelligence agent make decisions based on these rules. The only problem is that who make those rules? Who feed these rules with what data? And that is the concern, right?
Right. So that's where we begin to see all the biases that the programmers actually put into their program, what parameters they're using, what inputs they're using. And in this research, we wanted to begin to discard that and actually use data points that we found or came up with throughout the research. And that leads us into the implementation of XAI, Explainable Artificial Intelligence, in this learning model for self-driving vehicles.
Everybody's getting a self-driving vehicle nowadays for various reasons. Maybe because of the gas is too expensive, or maybe because they're more safe, right? And that's something where there's safety to drive, quote unquote. But I like how you combine that there is a ethical dilemma there that is being studied for decades, but now it's emerging because now these new self-vehicles, they're taking place. You use a word machine learning. Tell us what is machine learning and how does that impact into your research?
So machine learning is the ability to know when a computer has actually become smart. And how do we know when a computer is smart? When it begins to learn just like a normal human being. It learns from its past behaviors in order to make future decisions. And that impacts our research because once you start developing a self-driving vehicle, you want to keep in mind the past decisions that have been taken by that vehicle. How will it impact the future so that the machine can make a proper decision?
So let me see if I get this right. There's a machine that you do certain things and the machine is receiving that input and is saving it in some kind of database or somewhere. And then it waits until all that information to get there and then starts to learning from that data, right?
Correct.
Am I getting that right? Now that is called machine learning. Of course, it's more complicated than just simply just put it in a database, collect it, and that's it. There's algorithms, right? Sequence of steps to find a problem or to solve a problem. Now, that information, given that, we already collect some data based on how the machines learn in vehicles. How does that connect to the trolley dilemma?
Okay, so right now, developers are actually putting their own parameters into the machines.
Mm-hmm.
For example, if a car crosses right in front of you, the most natural reaction would be just to brake without keeping into consideration maybe there's a car behind you.
Mm.
Or how would that hit impact the other driver or yourself?
Yeah.
So that's when we start to get into adversarial thinking. How is everything else around you moving and how to keep that into perspective once you're making these decisions.
Mm. So those scenarios that you mentioned is, for example, this takes place in an unfortunate situation. Someone get hit, you need to make a decision in order to minimize the risk, optimize the profit. You don't want to call it profit, it's like which is the least amount of damage that we're going to use. So we use this data that all these engineers that you mentioned, they provide to this database in order to make these decisions, right?
Correct.
Now you mentioned something very interesting, adversarial thinking. Because usually when we drive, we have a situation, we react in the most, most stable or more recognized way. It's called status quo, right? Is this what you want to do?
No, because we don't want the machines to actually behave like humans. Us humans, we're the ones that are making the mistakes on the road.
Very good.
So during this research project, we actually made a control survey here at El Paso Community College with students, professors, and friends that wanted to get involved in this research initiative. And we actually classified different scenarios with different danger levels. The easiest example that I could give at the moment is the same one that I used earlier, which is just a car coming into your lane, and what would you do? Okay, so many people just simply chose to brake when you had 4 options to either swerve right, swerve left, brake, or do nothing and be hit. That was considered a low-level situation. Many people just chose to brake. But whenever we upped up the danger, we put the same scenario, but instead of being hit by a car, you were now being hit by a trailer. The decisions began to break up, and we actually came up with some very nice visualization of the data in a pie chart.
Mm-hmm.
And we can see how in the first situation, almost 80-85% of people chose to brake. But in the second one, it broke up into 2 parts. 50-50 wanted to brake, the others wanted to go to the right.
Interesting.
And that's what we eventually want to do. We want to start breaking up those situations. And going back to the trolley dilemma, the more details are given to whoever's making the decision, the more they're going to have to think about it.
That's a beautiful way to put it, because we want to get away from the status quo. We just go and hit. But also, people were going to start making decisions like, well, maybe having this kind of car is not the best solution, and things like that. And you mentioned about something that caught my attention was that people who make those rules, they're based by humans. And humans, we make mistakes. Therefore, there's going to be some mistakes in those rules. We want to optimize that. We want to reduce the hazard by creating better rules to understand not only the situations in the status quo, but also consideration of other items, diversity, equity. Yeah? What else? Justice.
Equality.
Equality. So the DEI, right?
Yes.
So those are the things that you incorporate in the XAI component, right? And this is a very good beginning, because this is one of the issues, big concerns that is happening right now in computing, in social sciences, in the dilemmas that we're living every single day. Now, very similar what happened with your research. You also need to consider those kind of situations. What happens when you log into, for example, your social media, right? You consider what happens. What do you think? Do you think that the social media keeps track of all that information?
Yes, most definitely. Social media is known for recollecting a lot of information.
Big time.
And because of that, they have their own ways of classifying users. But
and it's no big secret, because even, for example, Facebook and Instagram, they notice what you've been searching, and you're just going to your social media, and they're going like, "What? Why is this announcing happening here?" Right? Like, I was talking like a couple minutes ago that, and it like surprisingly appears in my social media. What can you say about that?
I think it's something that it's a big concern for a lot of people, because some would consider that social media is really invading our privacy a lot these days.
So similar to what you said, Luis, you mentioned about the privacy and the concerns, right? This is related for what Diego is doing, and of course what Fernando was developing. What is your perspective about that?
Yeah, like Diego said, Facebook and all of these social medias collect our information, a lot of our information. And what happens if Facebook gets a data leak?
A what?
A data leak.
Data leak?
Yeah, when a hacker
So we
leaks,
don't use the word hacker here,
yeah,
although it's a hacker's corner, but if someone, it's another side. Yeah.
If someone
Malicious.
with bad intentions penetrates Facebook security and leaks information in the black market, maybe to sell it, or
Wow.
I don't know, like they can do a lot of things with your information. So we have to also take measures. We don't have to put all of our trust in Facebook and all of these social medias, because even though they spend a lot of money in security, when we post something on those social media, it's not safe anymore. It's not yours. It's from the webs.
I agree.
And we have to be careful in the sense that maybe think twice about what are we posting. Maybe, like right now, people are searching posts or comments that you posted years ago, and then tell you, oh, well, in 2008 you said this, why are you changing, or something like that. So I think it's pretty interesting how social media collects our information, and we can implement cybersecurity to make that information more secure or be prepared if something bad happens. And also with AI and machine learning, computers are now learning how to crack passwords, find vulnerabilities in those firewalls. So I think it's pretty interesting, and they should like work together to improve our security or privacy. And
Yeah, I think I think you summarized very nicely, because you were doing AI, machine learning, you're doing the social aspect of both adversarial thinking. I think you mentioned something called trust and justice, right? And trust is not easy to program, but that's what we're doing. Brian, who is actually developing a SCADA system, that's more industrial, right? For example, with sustainable energy, right? With windmills. It's like, well, windmills is not why you need cybersecurity. Well, you do, because those are different kind of systems and can be hacked, and we can incorporate. Using machine learning, using artificial intelligence, those become more vulnerable. Even if it's for energy sustainability, it becomes a concern. And I think that the work that you all been doing is great. We're very proud of you. Congratulations. You got first and second place. I don't know how to put it. And all of you were in the top 10 actually research. When I was there, I was serving as a judge, not for you, obviously, but they were very happy. I received good comments, good feedback, and they're in shock to see how in a community college you can develop this high quality research. I'm very proud of all of you, and I'm very proud of all the work. Also, Professor Karishev helped us to mentor, and I want to thank all the great support, including the CASI REU, that help us to as a vehicle to disseminate that. This is being part of the adversarial thinking series for the border good. Everything that we're doing here is for the border good. And I want to thank everybody who has been watching us. If you have more information, visit hacktheborder.org, which is right here, and send us an email about any comments, questions, or discussions. I hope everybody's doing well, safe, and healthy. Thank you so much for joining us. This is the Hacker's Corner. See you next time. Happy coding, by the way.